I walked into the private dining room to celebrate Chase's birthday and stumbled upon him hugging his stepsister, Sophie, like lovers. He was coaxing her in a velvet soft voice. I only dated her to piss off Pierce. You're the one who likes Pierce, and he's had a secret crush on her forever. Pierce was Chase's sworn enemy. I'd never understood why Chase hated him so much, until now. Turns out his stepsister was in love with him. So I shoved the door wide, marched in, and smashed the meticulously frosted birthday cake right over Chase's head. Enjoy your happily ever after, toxic couple. Then I spun toward Pierce, who had just rushed in. You're an idiot too. Years of pining and you never opened your mouth. What, you born without one? Pierce signed something at me, looking aggrieved. Oh right, he actually is mute. Chase and I had grown up side by side since we were in diapers, proper childhood friends. A year ago, he'd suddenly confessed he wanted to date me. I hadn't felt that way about him at first, but after 10 months of relentless, heartfelt chasing, I'd started to fall for him and said yes. Our inner circle joked that our friendship had mutated into romance. Only now, eavesdropping outside the private dining room, did I realize the whole thing had been a con. I only dated her to punish Pierce, because you like him, and he's had a secret crush on her for years. Pierce lived next door, we were childhood neighbors too. He was Chase's nemesis. I'd never figured out why Chase despised him, until tonight. It was all because Sophie liked him. Inside the room, Chase kept Sophie's tear-streaked face, heartbreak shining in his eyes, gently wiping her tears. Sophie lifted her pale, delicate face. What about Riley, then? Are you going to break up with her? Chase frowned, clearly lost for an answer. I pushed the door open, cake in hand. Instantly every gossip-hungry face in the room froze. We'd all grown up in the same privileged circle. I'd assumed we were friends. EAD, they'd watched me dance in the dark, entertained. Chase's pupils flared, his face draining of color for a second before he recovered. Little fish, you heard everything, he said, mouth crooking into a shameless grin. Sorry, I used you. But you're easygoing, you won't mind, right? His gaze slid to the cake I was holding. He blinked, just once. That split-second hesitation was all I needed. I whipped the cake up and slammed it over his head. Gasps ricocheted around the room. Morons deserve each other. I'm good-natured, not spineless. No one swallows a spit-soaked heart without choking. I turned to leave and nearly collided with Pierce, who had sprinted after me. He stood panting, fair skin flushed from the cold night air. His lips parted, but no sound came. Still furious, I lashed out. You're an idiot too. Years of mooning and you never said a word, forget to grow a mouth? I had no clue whether Chase's claim of Pierce's long-term crush was true. I just wanted to bite something. Pierce stared, wounded, then slowly signed an apology. I was struck speechless again. Right, he really can't speak. He trailed me all the way home. I didn't call a rideshare. I needed the slap of night air to clear my head. Chase and I had only dated about 2 months. I hadn't wanted him for the first decade plus of my life, but once we were together we'd had fun, collected bright little memories. Finding out those memories were built on sewage left me dizzy, no matter how upbeat I pretend to be. If he didn't want to be with me, a clean breakup would have sufficed. What he did was vile. With that cake, I'd severed not just the romance but the entire 15-year friendship. I exhaled, a plume of frost dissolved under the street lamp. I checked my phone, dozens of messages from friends apologizing. They hadn't known how to tell me. They were afraid I'd be mad, excuses. Real friends would have known my temper and warned me anyway. Sitting on a cold bench, I deleted and blocked every single person who'd sat in that room smirking. Late autumn nights bite. I sniffled, and a warm coat dropped over my shoulders. A tall shadow blocked the lamplight. Pierce. He signed, go home, it's freezing. Chase's words echoed, he's had a secret crush on her forever. I tilted my head, studying him. He met my eyes, calm at first, then glanced away, ears pink. Maybe the rumor wasn't total fiction. Chase and I had been neighbors since infancy. Our moms were best friends, so we were tighter than anyone else in the compound. When I was 6, Pierce moved in next door. Story went he'd lived through something awful and stopped speaking. I was the loud kid who could befriend a brick wall. His dad asked me to talk to him. My parents were suckers for pretty faces. One look at Pierce and I agreed. He resembled a melancholy little prince, porcelain pale from never going outside. He hit puberty late. Until sophomore year he was shorter than me, which awakened some fierce protectorate instinct. He disliked people, marked invisible borders no one could cross, not even his father. I crashed through like a bulldozer. When I babbled too much, he'd sign shut up. I pretended not to understand and kept talking. He'd shriek, I'd clamp a hand over his mouth. Eventually he surrendered, like the stray dog I once pinned for an entire afternoon until it listened. Back home, I answered concerned texts nonstop. Once they heard the whole story, my friends exploded. I hopped on a group voice call to keep them from hunting Chase down at 2 a.m. By the time we hung up, it was nearly 3. Only then did I notice Pierce had texted around 10, Pierce * home safe? I answered, guilty, just got in, didn't see it, sorry Pierce * it's fine. You have lots of friends. He sounded jealous. And he was awake at 3 a.m., didn't seem like his style. Another text pinged, Pierce * I'm jealous. Morning came, heartbreak had an expiration date. In class, Pierce texted again, Pierce * morning. Made it to campus? IR. Replied, then scrolled our old chats, we'd never been this talkative. Was he courting me? Pierce * does my liking you make you uncomfortable? I shot back, nope I'm shallow, being adored by a gorgeous guy will never bother me, or I'd have nixed Chase the second his friendship tried to mutate. Looks matter, minus them, I'd have drop-kicked him earlier. Pierce * good. Good what? Next logical step was a confession, right? I spent the entire lecture wondering why he'd answered with a cryptic good instead of I like you. Realization smacked me midway, I'd been baited. After class, my roommate and I rounded the stairwell and nearly collided with Sophie. I tried to ignore her, but she called out, Riley, I'm sorry for what Chase did. I never expected it to go that far. My roommates knew we'd broken up, not the gory details. Sophie kept talking, I always wanted to tell you, but I never found the right moment. His confession to you was a mistake. That night he meant to confess to me, but I wasn't in the dorm. To save face, he picked you. I flashed back to a year ago, Chase's abrupt, public declaration. I'd been grinding ranked matches when he rang, come to the balcony, surprise waiting. I'm in a match, talk later. Ranked is more important? Get out here, now. Can't you just say it over the phone? We're losing. He softened, please, I'm freezing. The game ended in defeat. I stomped onto the balcony, roses in a heart, Chase center stage. He shouted, I like you. No name attached, over and over. Then, phone to ear, whispered, did you hear that, little fish? I like you. The crowd didn't know whom he meant, only I did. Now I learned the entire spectacle had been a misfire, and I'd been nothing but their love story's comic relief. But now, Sophie looked me dead in the eye and said that the carefully staged confession Chase had prepared that day had been meant for her. I had only been cast as the lead because she hadn't shown up. Chase hadn't been protecting me, he simply hadn't been able to speak my name, because the leading lady was never me. Every word of that nameless declaration had been shouting someone else's name inside his heart. If yesterday's breakup had made me 80% sick to my stomach, Sophie's revelation today cranked the nausea up to a full 100. After a moment of stunned silence I asked her, so are the two of you together now? My roommate's eyes went wide, already screenplay ing a sordid tale of cheating and third-wheel sabotage. Sophie blinked, as if the question hadn't occurred to her. She shook her head automatically, then added, Chase and I aren't like that. Please don't misunderstand. The stairwell was packed, everyone seemed to be hurrying somewhere, yet every single person managed a backward glance. I said, if there's nothing between you, why are you the one apologizing on his behalf? Is he missing a mouth? Or do you already know that whatever happened, the two of you wronged me together? I didn't wait for an answer. I dropped a sentence heavy with implication, turned on my heel, and walked off without another second of entanglement. Back in the dorm, I spun around to find my roommates watching me like I was a wounded puppy. Baby, you've suffered. I hadn't even opened my mouth, yet they'd already pieced together a full-blown soap opera from the fragments. They'd gotten a few plot points wrong, but the ending was more or less right. That night I queued for a ranked match, and the same unknown number kept blowing up my phone. I declined once, it rang again, relentless. I fumbled and accidentally accepted. Before I could speak, a torrent of words slammed through the speaker. Riley, whatever's between us, why drag Sophie into it? I'm the one who owes you. I apologized. You smashed a cake over my head. What more do you want? Do you have any idea what your little hallway scene did? People are calling her the other woman. Rumors can kill, you know. When will you stop being so selfish and think about someone else? His voice was so loud my hand jerked, sending my champion flashing straight into the enemy's face. I saw red. Only then did I realize how wrong Chase and I were for each other. The day he confessed he'd cost me a ranked game, when I crawled back into bed to keep playing, I lost streak after streak. And now history repeated itself. Why on earth had I dated a guy who brought down my rank? Did he have any clue how hard I'd fought to climb solo? Did he know how rare it is to queue into 4 normal teammates? I dragged her in? She's the one who cornered me in public to debate who owes whom. You two run your secret little romance and use me as the smokescreen, and I'm the bad guy? So you apologize and I'm supposed to accept? I smash one cake and that erases 2 months of my time and energy? If you want a square, stand in the quad and let me smash birthday cakes over your head, one for every rose you scattered that night. Otherwise you'll never hold your head up in front of me again. You know exactly whose fault this is, better than anyone. And Chase, am I the only one you owe? When you shack up with the daughter of the woman who destroyed your mom, did you ever think about how deep that knife went into Eleanor? I didn't give him a chance to reply. I delivered my ultimatum. If either of you contacts me again, the next morning every campus page will be plastered with your little circus act. I'm staying quiet now, not for you, but because I won't be the one who puts Eleanor back in the hospital. Get lost. I hung up and blocked the number. Only then did it hit me. The person Chase's stunt hurt most might be Eleanor, still battling depression after her marriage collapsed. She and my mom are best friends. She's basically raised me as a second daughter. When Chase was 10, his father cheated. The mistress showed up pregnant at their door. Eleanor was pregnant too. The shock sent her to the hospital, and she lost the baby. That was the worst year of Chase's life. His perfect family exposed as a lie, divorce proceedings uglier than tabloid headlines, and him drifting through school like a ghost. I spent every afternoon trying to make him laugh, shielding him from the sordid adult world, patching the remains of his innocence. He doesn't remember any of that, or how hard Eleanor fought for custody, but he remembers every tiny kindness Sophie ever gave him and every honeyed lie his father told. Eleanor never crawled out from under the wreckage of that marriage. And her beloved only son is now in love with the daughter of the woman who ruined her. How poetic. Chase's call wrecked the calm I'd pieced together. Relationships are nothing but trouble, a flash of happiness for 2 months, endless headaches before and after. I decided to go home and figure out how to tell Mom. The moment I stepped out of the dorm I spotted Pierce under the ginkgo tree. Hard to miss him, he looks like he walked off a fashion spread, the eye-catcher in every crowd. I didn't want to assume, but he was already walking toward me. He signed, "Are you going home tonight?" I nodded. "What are you doing here, waiting for me?" He gave a solemn nod and reached for my bag. Pierce is stubborn. If I refused we'd stand there negotiating until graduation. My phone pinged. A message from Pierce. I glanced at him. "You're right here, why text?" He asked, "What's on your mind? It shows that badly?" "Pierce, you're frowning and quiet. You used to unload 800 words a minute on me." I muttered, "Was I that bad?" Clearing my throat, I added, "That was ancient history. Things are different now. You have a secret crush on me. I have to act aloof." "Pierce, don't bother. Liking you is my problem." I stared at that text, mouth open, then looked up. His ears were crimson. Heaven knows how much nerve it took to send something that sappy. Suddenly my own embarrassment evaporated. Someone was dying worse than me. "Pierce, step away from the romance novels." He nodded woodenly, lashes fluttering like they might take flight. He typed, "So tell me, what's bothering you? You can vent, I won't breathe a word." The solemnity cracked me up. I doubled over clutching his arm while he held me steady, afraid I'd laugh myself onto the pavement. "Pierce, you can't breathe a word, you can't speak." He smiled, wagging his phone. The mental image of him expressionlessly texting gossip was funnier. Still, he's the safest vault on earth. Back in middle school I failed a final and needed a parent's signature. Too scared to ask, I had him forge one. He grudgingly complied. I told him never to tell. Nobody ever found out, even after the teacher spotted the forgery and called my parents. I'm in no hurry now. We amble down the avenue while I ramble about Chase, Sophie, and whether Eleanor should hear the truth from me before gossip beats me to it. Pierce listens without signing or typing, nodding or shaking his head at intervals. Should I ruin their vacation? I ask. They're traveling, finally happy. Do I drop this bomb? I already know my answer. Chaos just craves company. Pierce types, when you learned Chase lied, were you glad your friends in the private dining room kept quiet, or angry they didn't warn you? Some of them weren't gloating, just cowardly kind. Still, their silence hurt. You keep worrying about Eleanor, but what about you? Reading that, I pause. I know I'm a victim too, yet my heartbreak feels petty next to hers. We only dated 2 months. I wasn't madly in love, just furious at the lie and the ruined friendship. There's no hierarchy of pain. What you feel counts just as much. I wonder how unstoppable he'd be if he could actually speak. Did he take an online course? His old texts were terse, perfectly mute boy appropriate, cleverly hiding the crush. High school drifted us apart, only Eastbrook tossed us back into the same orbit. I stop on the sidewalk and tip my head. Coincidence, he's already looking down. He lifts his hand, hesitates, then reaches to straighten my hoodie's rumpled hood. Were you actually trying to pet my head? Pierce presses his lips into a line, eyes flicking over my face, then musters a shy nod. Nope, not allowed. ? I swear I heard a puzzled puff of air as his hand hovered in midair, while I strolled off without a glance back. Let him keep angling for me. Dream on. After I got home, I talked with Mom the whole night. She scolded and raged through the phone. Chase had wounded not only her daughter but her best friend. Should have given birth to a slab of barbecue instead of him. When he was born his father didn't even want him, only the baby the mistress was carrying. If that one hadn't turned out to be a girl, Victor would never have fought tooth and nail to drag Chase back. Grows bigger, grows dumber, such a sweet kid when he was little. When Chase was small, what hurt him most was watching Eleanor suffer. He knew how miserable his mother was in that marriage, so he didn't want to see her trapped in endless divorce hearings. He volunteered to live with his father and set Eleanor free. The day Eleanor left the Davenport estate, he hid in my room and cried the whole night. In the first few years he hated Sophie and her mom. If they sat at the table, he'd flip the whole thing. I remember one time he and Sophie clashed at school. He stood in front of everyone and exposed her mother as the homewrecker, leaving Sophie to endure 3 years of bullying. Later, I don't know when, the razor edge between Chase and Sophie dulled. Their bond still looked average, but he no longer recoiled from her. Sometimes I'd even glimpse his chat log with Sophie, pages of voice notes and missed calls. Back then I sensed nothing off, never thought those records strange. After Mom finished cursing Chase, she started sobbing softly on the other end. She was hurting for her friend. She told me Eleanor is someone who loves with everything she has. To her husband she gave her whole heart and received 3 years of betrayal in return. To her son, though she herself was being flayed alive, she still marked the calendar for the days she could leave rehab in Boston just to spend time with him. What she got still felt like betrayal. Mom asked if I was hurting. I said not really. Romance isn't the whole of my life, so a breakup barely registers. Even if it stung at first, I have people ready to listen. My parents drilled it into me early, nothing in life is permanent, growing up means learning to lose. Eleanor can't accept the loss of her marriage, so she's shackled to the past, terrified of the future. Yet some things arrive whether you want them or not, better to meet them head-on than be run over. So I've calmly closed the book on a relationship built on lies. It wasn't my fault. I refused to lug around its negative baggage. Carrying it would only make me miss every good thing still waiting and slowly erode my ability to see beauty at all. Mom said she'd handle anything involving Eleanor and told me to stay out of it. If Chase ever came looking, I should speed dial Dad and have him hire some muscle. Beat him half to death. Pierce and I started talking more and more. Our friendship reheated, like we were kids glued to each other again. For a stretch I actually spent more time with Pierce than with Chase. Only later, when Chase screamed at me for playing favorites, did I realize how long I'd neglected him. After that I tried to keep the scales level. But the two of them had disliked each other since kindergarten, where one was, the other refused to be. All I could do was rotate, a Pierce phase, a Chase phase, then a hang out with everyone else phase. At some ridiculous age I was already learning the impossible art of keeping 5 brimming cups steady at once. The weather turned cold. Whenever I had no class I went home to grind ranked games. I'd just finished a match when Pierce messaged, "Are you home?" I said yes. He asked if he could crash at my place for a bit. He'd locked himself out and his dad's assistant was still driving the spare key over. When Pierce stepped into my bedroom he looked shy, as if he'd never been here before. I laughed. "You've been here, remember? Why so formal?" He signed that it was back when we were little. After we grew a bit, he'd pretty much stopped coming. He texted me. "I remember watching from my window while Chase vaulted over the balcony into your room." His window faces my balcony, and Chase's balcony nearly touches mine. As kids Chase never used the front door, just swung himself over. Reading that message, a scene popped into my head, a boy standing motionless at the glass, watching again and again as another boy wiggled his way into my room. For some reason it cracked me up. I asked, "Then why didn't you climb over? Too scared?" Pierce shook his head slowly and typed, "I wasn't invited." I collapsed on the couch laughing. Such a solemn answer, paired with his earnest face, I couldn't hold it in. Pierce didn't quite get the joke, but seeing me laugh made his eyes curve into crescents. We talked a while, then, as usual, I itched for another match. Pierce scooted closer and signed that he wanted to duo. I was stunned. He has the face of someone who's never touched a game. Then I figured he might be bronze, so while his lobby loaded I was already planning beginner lessons. Turns out the account logged in as King Tier. He doesn't play anything but support. Picks Yao, then perches on my head and nobody else's. Luckily his peel is solid and my mechanics are decent. Our Siamese twin win streak kept climbing, or the team would have flamed us into next week. Crap, I'm dead. Pierce, save me. I'd wiped 4 enemies but had only a sliver of health left when the 5th came barreling in, full HP and foaming at the mouth. All my skills were on cooldown. I was sure I'd feed. Pierce dashed in at lightspeed, healed me, shielded me, and snatched me from the jaws of D. ETH. Wow, Pierce, love you to death. Escaping with 1 HP makes my heart race harder than dying. A textbook suspension bridge effect almost had me falling for him. With Yao on my head I spun around and claimed the final kill, ace-ing them and sealing the victory. 10th straight win. Watching my rank stars shoot up, I squealed and hugged Pierce. Only then did I notice something off. Pale Pierce had turned crimson, as if dunked in boiling water. Pierce, you're cooked? Die blushes if you breathe on him. He wouldn't meet my eyes, but I insisted, cupping his face and inspecting him head to toe. He really is gorgeous. When our gazes locked again he looked mortified, as if my glance itself had brushed every inch of him with kisses. Only then did the air turn syrupy. Under its spell my own eyes landed on his mouth. Back when I dated Chase, I never felt physical hunger for him. I never wanted to kiss him, and since his heart carried someone else he never thought to kiss me either, so I still don't know what a kiss tastes like. Come to think of it, Chase's lips were nicely shaped too, but I never noticed, never cared to sample them. Yet right now, staring at Pierce, I'm itching to taste, because he confessed his secret crush and I can't pretend we're just buddies? Or because I'm starting to like him back? Before my brain sorted the answer, my body was inching toward the fruit I wanted to bite. But Pierce dodged. I grabbed his collar, half bandit, half kidnapper, while he looked like the delicate bride I dragged back to my mountain lair. You don't want to kiss me? Why not? His eyes carried a flicker of grievance as he signed. I wasn't invited. Invited to what? To be your boyfriend. I let go, smoothing the wrinkles I'd made, embarrassment flooding me. Right, friends don't kiss, only boyfriends do. Yet the moment my hands withdrew, the hurt in his eyes deepened. He bit his lip until the red faded to white. I couldn't help pinching his cheek, freeing that lip from his teeth. He signed, you just said you loved me to death. Wasn't that a confession? Honestly, I answered, I got carried away by the game. Pierce fell silent, the light in his gaze dimmed, though he forced a smile and tapped the screen to cue again. I picked up my phone and we launched the next round. But his head wasn't in it. He missed saves and took flack from teammates. He looked like a frostbitten eggplant, or a trapped bunny with drooping ears, eyes so clear they seemed ready to spill tears. I cussed the flommers out and hard carried him to another win, but his mood stayed underwater. I'm lousy at keeping questions inside. After a few seconds I blurted, you upset? Pierce shot me a sidelong glance, lips pressed tight, though he couldn't have spoken anyway. No signs, no texts. Full-on sulking kitten mode. Because I said I got gaming high? Or because love you to death gave you the wrong idea? Or because you want to be my boyfriend and I didn't give an answer? Or, you wanted to kiss me too? Sentence by sentence I coaxed him from stubbornly facing away to slowly turning toward me, like luring a glamorous stray out from the depths with a trail of kibble, so I could pounce. Pierce signed, all of the above. I ruffled his hair, his brows pinched for a heartbeat, then relaxed into a soft curve as he leaned closer. Exactly like a pedigreed cat that ignores the world but lets me scratch his chin. I studied his features once more. His eyes seemed threaded with desire, tugging at my restlessness. The heater that had felt cozy now raised my temperature another few degrees. I still couldn't resist. I pressed my mouth to his. Friends once told me kissing someone good at it melts you into syrup and makes your soul shiver. I never understood, still don't. Neither of us had done this before. We kept our lips sealed for ages before timidly venturing farther, learning each other breath by breath. I figured out the rhythm before Pierce did. Flipping the script, I ned him to the couch and kissed him hard. His fingers on the sofa back curled so tight the tendons stood out on his pale skin, his other hand steady at my waist. Even when he looked ready to pass out from oxygen deprivation, he let me do whatever I wanted. He couldn't speak to stop me, his only protest came as ragged breathing. He looked completely pitiful. My friend was right. Kissing someone who actually knows how to kiss feels amazing. It took Pierce a long time to pull himself together on the cushions. Classes had just ended when he texted, "Wait for me. It's snowing. I'll pick you up at the building." I sat in the front row, grinding ranked matches while I waited. Right as a team fight exploded on screen, a shadow fell over me. Figuring it was Pierce, I said without looking up, "Give me a sec, I've got to finish this round." Little fish. That voice was off. I glanced up and saw Chase, hollow-eyed, unshaven, standing over me. My gaze dropped back to the game, heart sinking. "Please don't let me lose this one." Chase pressed his lips together. "Are you with Pierce now?" I grunted a yes, eyes never leaving the screen. "Busy. Get lost." Matchmaking had finally blessed me. This LP was non-negotiable. Chase didn't budge. "You're really dating Pierce?" "We broke up 3 months ago." I escaped on a sliver of health and recalled to Fountain. "So what? I still have to mourn you forever?" "Move, I'm in ranked." He stayed planted in front of me. I know it's late, but after we split I finally sorted myself out. "I don't love Sophie. Never did. It wasn't like that." He looked lost. Sophie had hinted she wanted more after the breakup, yet Chase had pulled away. Even when they were together he kept thinking about me. He'd locked himself in his room for days, trying to name the feelings. He'd always believed Sophie was the one, that I meant nothing romantic. But did he really feel nothing? Alone, memories surfaced. Maybe the emotion had lived in him so long it felt ordinary, untie. He asked, would he let any other girl this close? Who did he instinctively call when things went wrong? Who gave him a calm no one else could? Answer, no one but me. That clumsy confession, he thought his racing heart was just guilt. The 2 months we dated had been the lightest, happiest of his life. Promoted from friend to boyfriend, he'd pictured a future together. Then Sophie showed up crying about her bullying nightmares. Chase rambled on while I tracked cooldowns and screamed for my team to engage. What I felt for Sophie was guilt, not love. We couldn't give up another dragon. I pinged attack. I outed her mom as a mistress back in high school. She was bullied for 3 years because of me. I didn't know until I saw the bruises. I'm responsible. Heal, support, heal, now you decide to save me? If only Chase had a fraction of Pierce's game sense. Chase's mouth twisted. I hold up like a coward. The other night I climbed your balcony to see you, but I saw. His voice cracked. I saw you kissing Pierce. So it's true. Dead. I watched the map like a hawk, planning the next fight. He called my name twice. I half listened while pinging my squad. At the crucial moment my phone was yanked away. Chase stood there, storm-faced, my cell in his hand. My champion stood idle and was instantly deleted. I saw red. Snatching the phone back, I watched teammates flame me in voice chat as our nexus exploded. Chase kept whining, I've been talking and you're still playing. Is this stupid game more important than me? Right now? Infinitely. I shoved to my feet. You want to hash this out? Fine. You say you mistook guilt for love because your careless gossip got Sophie bullied. Did it occur to you that making it up to her meant slicing me open? Hurting an innocent girl to soothe another? Great logic. You never weighed collateral damage, you only cared about salving your own conscience. Sophie didn't choose her mother. Eleanor's wounds didn't close because you punished the wrong person. And you never checked whether your atonement actually helped anyone, you just kept adding names to your guilt ledger. Have you done one decent thing these 10 years? You care about Eleanor, but can you name her meds, her doctors, the city she's recovering in? No. So you lumbered the one person who always had your back with your mess, then torched her for sport. What have you actually fixed, Chase, except the size of the hole you're digging? He had no answer, every charge was true. He whispered, but why him? Is it because Sophie used to like Pierce? No, I said. I don't drag bystanders into my wars. You chose to pursue me, you lied, you hid. Without you I'd have nothing to do with Sophie. I won't shape my life around her. Mom told me when math grows up it stops being 1 + 1, equations sprout brackets, signs, roots. And unlike homework, life offers no perfect score. If you're stuck, find whoever wrote the problem. I brushed past him and stalked into the hall, defeat screen still glowing. I almost collided with Pierce on the stairs. He read my fury, laced his fingers through mine. Chase appeared behind me. Classes would start soon, the last thing I needed was campus gossip painting me as a two-guy soap opera. I tugged Pierce downstairs. He lifted his umbrella against the whirl of snow while I vented and showed him the lost screen. Unable to sign under the umbrella, he listened, nodding or shaking his head. Chase watched from the doorway until the white curtain swallowed us. Would things be different, he wondered, if he'd understood his heart sooner and held the umbrella himself? I took Pierce home. Those lost stars were coming back. Snow kept falling. I emailed my Wednesday prof a creative excuse and awarded myself a mini vacation. Pierce set the umbrella aside and signed at once, expression grave. I braced for the standard speech. Chase is unstable. Stay away, or I'll protect you from now on. Not that I needed saving. I could probably bench press him. But hey, cheesy couple theatrics are fun, right? Instead he signed solemnly. Chase glared at me. Super aggressive stare. Like he wanted to punch me. I've seen it before, when we were kids and he jumped me. I have remembered, some playground argument, Chase lunging, Pierce fighting back like a wildcat, me flying in to kick Chase clear. Pierce continued, he's always been violent. What if he hits me? I'm scared. Lightning quick I lifted his sweater and grazed the ridges of his abs. With this body? What exactly are you afraid of? No shame flickered, he only looked wounded that I'd exposed his act. He signed, pitiful, you'll protect me, right? Laughing, I hugged him. Of course. Stick to me like glue, no one touches you. Satisfied, he rubbed his cheek against mine, kitten clingy. Curious, I asked, why didn't you promise to shield me from Chase instead? Pierce just smiled, as if to say, you already know. I've never liked being treated like something fragile. Sometimes I even prefer protecting someone else. No one understands how electrifying it feels to be needed. That was why young Pierce first caught my eye. When he arrived, he looked like a cat covered in wounds, baring its teeth, using bad temper as armor. Back then Mom told me Pierce had been in a car wreck while out with his mother. She shielded him with her body, but the ambulance came too late. He could only watch her life drain away in front of him. The guilt stole his voice and plunged him into depression. He didn't want to die, he simply felt the life wasn't his to keep, that he had no right to decide whether he lived or died. Lots of adults won't discuss these things with kids, thinking children don't grasp death or emotions. But Mom never believed that. She told me everything, laid the choices before me, and let me bear the consequences I could handle at my age. At first the cat scratched me more than once, yet I knew it wasn't intentional. After each accidental scratch he felt guiltier than I did, more unable to forgive himself. He would push me away even more frantically, terrified I'd be hurt because of him. After a few soft approaches failed, I changed tactics. I yanked him over, hugged him tight, and forcibly petted the anger out of him. A few rounds of that and he started leaning into me on his own. I suspect he figured out what melts me, so he kept showing me his soft belly. Ahem. Pierce and I were tangled by the front door when a cough came from the living room. I jumped and shoved him away. Leaning against the door, he watched me in silence, but I swore that if we were alone, he might have cried right then. I squeezed his hand without a word, comforting him, then peeked around the corner. Dad, Mom, and Eleanor sat ramrod straight on the sofa. Dad kept gulping water, shooting me glances that said he wanted to fetch a cleaver from the kitchen. Mom coughed again. You've already dragged the boy home, quit hiding and come out properly. Pierce stepped out from behind me, nodding politely to my parents. I hugged Eleanor and said hello. She stroked my hair and said she'd brought me a gift, left in my room for me to open later. As she spoke, tears fell. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I made you sad. Before I could answer, Mom signaled me to stay quiet and sent Dad and Pierce away. Eleanor clung to me, sobbing as if guilt might drown her slight frame. For a moment I felt that if she didn't hold on to me, her own tears would sweep her into an abyss she could never climb out of. She cried until she had nothing left, as though every tear inside her had run dry. Mom said that being able to cry was good. People who can't cry are truly broken. Eleanor whispered, I came back to talk to Chase. Then I'm going to the States for treatment. I have to pull myself up. Upstairs I found her present, everything she owned. Mom told me to accept, otherwise Eleanor would never find peace. After spending a day with Chase, she bore dead a plane to Boston alone, turning down Mom's offer to go with her. Her thin frame pushed against the wind. She was saving herself. On News Eve an unknown number called. Just as I answered, fireworks cracked outside, drowning the voice. Little fish, sorry to bother you. I've got no one else to talk to right now. Mom found me once. She didn't scold me, maybe she's too tired. She looked thinner than I remembered. She gave me money and said she was sorry. That she lost the custody fight and left me in the Davenport house, that I suffered so young. I wanted to say I didn't blame her, but the word stuck. Maybe I do blame her, and I carry the same guilt. I used to think I was Mom's shackle, so heavy she couldn't move forward, trapping her in bad memories. You were right, I carry guilt but only know how to run. I dodge her, force myself to accept Dad and his new family, telling myself if I go numb I'll look less pitiful. I'm sorry. The fireworks ended, the call cut off. Mom called me to video chat with Eleanor, and I didn't think twice about the mystery caller. My contact labeled with a cat emoji pinged. Can I come over? I'm alone. Dad only works, didn't even come home tonight. Don't want our first new together to be this lonely. Cat emoji, it's our first new as a couple, can't spend it apart. Fish emoji, of course. Pierce, already dressed, sat at his desk waiting for that reply. Snatching the gift box, he sprinted out. His father poked his head from the kitchen, baffled. Where are you off to? You eating here or not? Pierce shook his head. His dad yanked off his apron, grumbling. I cancelled my damn evening shift to cook for you, heartless brat. Pierce signed, don't need you. I have a girlfriend. Hawthorne, if he weren't my only kid I'd strangle him. When he arrived, he handed me a wrapped box. Inside lay a hand-knitted scarf. Tracing the neat, delicate stitches, I asked, you made this? He nodded, practically wagging an invisible tail. I was stunned. Every pattern, every stitch, done by hand? I'm all thumbs, crafts terrify me. He nodded again and signed it wasn't hard. I shoved the scarf back at him. Wrap it on me, now. Blushing, he looped it around my neck, then parted his lips. Little fish. I answered on reflex. A beat later, who just spoke? Pierce? I stared. He smiled and mouthed, love you. You're talking? Say it again, quick, record it for your dad. Hearing his silent son speak after years, Hawthorne dropped a plate, tears streaming. First word of his life and it isn't Dad, traitor. Pierce stayed quiet. Hawthorne tried. Say Dad? But Pierce never made a sound. The Davenport estate is next door, any drama travels fast. Victor had cheated again, the mistress showed up with a baby, and Sophie's mother lost her mind screaming. Watching it felt like reruns of old news. What goes around finally swung back. The moment Victor realized the baby was a boy, he wanted to divorce and marry the mistress. But Sophie's mom wasn't giving up without bleeding him dry. They fought until he wrote a fat check. He needed that heir. Chase and his father were at war, leaving the empire to his only son scared Victor for his old age. The wife left the little girl behind and took Sophie. After all, Sophie shared no blood with Victor. She planned to flee abroad with the fortune, but Victor wasn't a fool. He set traps and drained every cent from her. She ended with nothing but air. Chase watched coldly, and only after the new wife and son moved in did he stroll out with a paternity test and Victor's own infertility report. Otherwise Sophie's mother would have popped out a third kid to secure her throne. But Victor couldn't. He had one son, who hated his guts. They could spend the rest of their days torturing each other. Victor collapsed on the spot, stroke stealing his speech. Chase jumped off a roof, dead, yet not. Vegetative, lying in bed. No telling when, or if, he'll wake. Mom raged at the news, but as an outside. Or she could only agonize over how to tell her best friend. The mess would heap more weight on Eleanor while she's still in therapy. Mom told me to stay out of it, none of my business, and go enjoy being in love. Leaving the lecture hall, I spotted Pierce crouched by the curb, tempting a stray cat with dried fish. The cat's gorgeous and famous, regular star of campus posts. I walked over. Planning to kidnap it? We're almost grads, plenty of seniors swipe campus cats for keeps. He shook his head and tossed the fish farther off. Seeing the coast clear, the cat darted out, snatched the snack, and vanished back into the bushes. Pierce said, no other cats allowed. He speaks now, just sparingly. I raised a brow. You saw the name I saved you under? A cat head emoji. He's been feline vibes since childhood, lavish and haughty. He gave a soft chin lifted. He saw the emoji, the only contact I topped and labeled with a sticker, exclusive treatment. He's smug about it. I demanded his phone, he had me under a fish sticker. Knew you copied me. He sniffed, neither admitting nor denying. On the way home I chattered nonstop while he held my hand, carrying my bag, watching the road. Eyes smiling, as if my voice could never annoy him. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your perspectives, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.